Hello. Hopefully, we'll start getting more people in the door because this next talk is going to be awesome. So I'm very welcome to call on stage Yusuf Omar, Yeah, thank you. Clapping, please. Yeah. He's co-founder of Scene and wears cameras in his body for more than a decade. Yusuf, stage is yours. Big hands of applause.
Hi, how is everybody? People outside, come inside. This is the best session and you're gonna miss it. It is so exciting to see you all. You know, sometimes when you think about this whole augmented reality space, let me get virtual Yusuf up here. There he is, hello. It's almost like people are kind of laughing at this community. We talk about the future of augmented reality, immersive storytelling, and they're like, ha, 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 that's never gonna happen, that's never gonna work. This is the community that is gonna tell the entire world, I told you so. This is the community that are making investments in this space that is gonna tell the whole world. Because remember, when you look at Web 2, you had Uber and Airbnb and Meta and all these companies that were born into that era. In this room, or in the lobby, is the next billionaires that are going to found these amazing, amazing, amazing companies. And I'm really passionate about this space. But right now, the world is laughing at the augmented community. They don't get it. And it's kind of the same way that they were laughing at the internet when the internet first emerged. People didn't understand why they would need it.
Can you explain what internet is?
And what about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure. You write to it like mail?
A couple of months ago, there was a big breakthrough announcement that on the internet, you could listen to a baseball game on your computer. And I just thought to myself, does radio ring a bell?
And I have no desire to be a part of the internet because I feel like I'm so inundated with information all the time that I don't want more.
And it's really the same kind of arguments that I hear when people are talking about augmented reality and the future of wearable storytelling. They're like, we don't need computers on our faces. We've got enough information. I've already got my mobile phone. They don't get it. They don't get it, but they don't realize that this future is coming so quickly and it's so exciting and it's so liberating, and the mobile phone actually sucks. It's a lot of friction. I spend my whole day like this, so I walk around Lisbon like this. These are computers on my face, right? I'm looking back out at the world. That is an incredibly liberating experience. Didn't come from a technologist background. I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist for about 11 years now. I've covered the Syrian civil war. I've been to over 100 countries over the last 2.5 years, and I've worked for CNN International, NBC, a bunch of organizations around the world. And then I saw some major international stories happen, such as the Trump elections and Brexit in the UK. And these were two of the biggest stories of our time. And traditional media missed these stories. Nobody thought Trump was going to win the election. Nobody thought Brexit was going to happen. And the reason for that is because they weren't talking to real people and real stories on the ground. And the way I looked at it was like this big iceberg. If you imagine a giant iceberg, right? At the moment, who's going viral? TikTokers are going viral, doing these ones. And traditional media organizations are going viral. But below the surface are billions and billions of people with incredibly powerful stories and mobile devices, right? My wife is from South Africa. They have more mobile phones than people, right? Loads and loads of mobile phones. And what we realized is if we could train those communities how to tell stories, we could suddenly have new stories bubbling to the surface, have a much more diverse media landscape, and really understand what's going on. Especially in the world right now that's so polarized, we need to start to see the world through other people's perspectives, right? And other people's perspectives can be watching a mobile video that's showing you somebody else's point of view, but we're increasingly moving to a future where we can literally see the world through other people's perspectives, creating more empathy and understanding. One of the biggest challenges we had was, how do we go about training millions of people around the world to tell stories with their phones? It started with myself traveling around and doing that, but it's not scalable. So what we realized was we could use selfie filters, augmented reality, as a tool to help people tell their stories. So basically, you could open up your mobile camera on Snapchat or whatever platform, and I could point the camera at myself and be able to ask myself questions. What hobbies do I play? What makes me feel energized? Do you have a secret talent? Do any of you guys have a secret talent? And if we could send these to communities around the world, we could give them the tools to enable them to tell their stories, to remote direct, to self-interview. So this is what we started doing. The first time I realized the capabilities of augmented reality as a storytelling tool or technology was when I was in India. I was in India and we were working with 200 young women that had been raped or sexually abused. And in India, you can't show the identities of those that have been sexually assaulted in the media, even if they want to be identified. I was able to give them my phone, and they were able to use a Snapchat face filter to hide their identities and empower them to tell their story.
5 years old when it happened.
Look at these striking images. They're people wearing virtual face masks on Snapchat. Victims of sexual abuse in India are using them to remain anonymous so they can tell their harrowing stories.
So that's when we first saw the potential opportunity. We were like, wow, these face filters that all of your kids are using right now, and is probably the most mainstream adoption of augmented reality, selfie filters, can be used as a storytelling tool or technology to assist people in telling narrative stories. So I started going to stages all over the world and telling people this story. We can use augmented reality tools to empower communities to tell stories with mobile devices and curate that into professional quality journalism. And what did the industry do? They laughed at me. In fact, this was the editor of the BBC when I pitched this idea.
Yeah, but this isn't journalism. I would die rather than do it. I don't want to watch it either. Curating selfies isn't journalism.
Curating selfies isn't journalism. Today, the president of Ukraine is giving us news with selfie journalism. If this isn't journalism, I don't know what the fuck is. So we saw this as an opportunity. We realized, wow, they don't get it, we can do really interesting things. So when we push out and we look at the future of storytelling, and especially as we move towards 2030, when we expect to see mainstream adoption of wearable technology, there's two parts that you have to understand. One part is capture, and one part is consumption. First, we need to understand how people are going to capture content on mobile phones and wearable technology, and how augmented reality can assist with that journey. And the other part is consumption. We need to understand how people will consume content when they're no longer limited to the confines of a 16:9 screen or a mobile device. So that's the two sides I want to talk to you about. In terms of capture, when you have these AR filters that are guiding people through the storytelling process, they are able to self-interview in amazing ways.
What happens?
What does it mean?
Is it okay?
What in the world is alopecia?
Can paralyzed people have sex? Yes, we can.
Does wearing a niqab make you a terrorist?
Wow.
Do sugar babies have to sleep with their sugar daddies? And the answer is no.
No.
Do female performers fake orgasms?
You can do incredibly powerful things when you empower people through their mobile camera with remote direction. I mean, we were doing this partnership with World Vision International, and we were looking at the impossible choices that people have to make around food security and allowing audiences to make those decisions. So a meal or water, family meal or medicine, go to school hungry or work to get food.
This is a really tough one.
And then we started working with the United Nations. They wanted to use augmented reality as a device so people could capture content around the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. So we created what was called the butterfly effect, where people could rock butterfly wings and could tell stories around the SDGs, and we launched this with them in Germany. We also worked with a bunch of NGOs, UNICEF and others, on refugee camp immersion for World Refugee Day, where you could put yourself through your Snapchat camera into a refugee camp and navigate that space and understand some of the challenges and dynamics. Again, putting yourself in somebody else's perspective, somebody else's, you know, they say if you walk a day in somebody's shoes, you can start to understand their world. That is what augmented reality storytelling does. It situates you in physical space and time. This is where things get really interesting. If you create incredible augmented reality camera tools, if you distribute it to marginalized communities, those communities create content. Here's the clever part. In the content, if you seed more augmented reality tools, it goes to more communities and they create more content. And that's how you generate a flywheel. My wife and I started this company at the beginning of the pandemic, just 2 of us. Today, we're 100 full-time staff around the world. We produce 21 stories a week, 1,000 videos a year. We have 6 million subscribers, and we've been able to do this entirely with this model by giving communities AR filters, enabling them to tell stories, and then in those stories, producing more filters. It's a very, very simple idea. This is where it gets really good. In a perfect world, you want your audience to become your creators. You want the people that are consuming to become creators, right? Create peer-to-peer content. One of the verticals that is the most difficult to create content around is climate change. Climate change stories are hard. We were able to create these AR lenses that enabled Snapchat users to tell their friends about climate change. What an exciting idea.
How do you get people to care about our planet? Don't just watch, play.
I think my bee died.
Hit the landmine before we die.
The roots are pretty processed, so I'm gonna say no.
Okay, there's a rat. There's a rat on here.
That is so cool.
I'm a rat.
Ew! Without that plastic.
Okay, so the one half of this presentation is about capture, right? Using augmented reality tools and technologies to assist in the capturing of professional quality user-generated content, right? Not random UGC, professional UGC by using these tools. But the other really exciting side is consumption. Whether through your mobile device or through wearable computers, we're increasingly able to consume content 2 centimeters away from our optical nerve or using a mobile device. What does the future of storytelling look like when it's on our face? What does the future of storytelling look like when it's augmented on the world? This is something everybody's figuring out. But the trend is clear. We are moving to one device. We're moving to a camera on our face. What's really exciting today, when you look at the ecosystems that are being developed on Lens Studio, on Spark AR, on Effect House, all of the tools that we're developing for consumption on a mobile phone seamlessly transition onto wearable computers. It's the same filters, it's the same software, it moves across. It's really, really easy. Unfortunately, this is what people think the future of wearable storytelling looks like. They think it's like a casino on your face. Nobody wants that. It should be subtle, information when you need it most. This is the view that the public have of it, but it can be so much more. We did a project in partnership with Snap in Boston. And what we did was we took a bunch of historical images from the Boston Commons Library, and we overlaid them onto the city. And then we had poets recite what you were looking at. So you'd be walking around Boston, and you would see history overlaid onto the city, and you have poetry being recited, dynamically changing the way we think about tourism. Really, really easy project to do, and really complex results. This is another consumption tool that we were working on. I was born and raised as a Muslim, and Muslims pray in what language? Arabic. Thank you, Oscar. Muslims pray. How much Arabic do you think I speak? None. My entire life, I've been praying in a language I don't understand. And get this, the majority of Muslims are from countries that don't speak Arabic. Bangladesh, Indonesia, Pakistan. We created an augmented reality lens that shows you the religious text, the Quran, in English. So you know what the prayer is, you know what you're reciting. This is a utility consumption product. South Africa is a really interesting country. My wife is South African, I mentioned that. And we have these colonial statues. Thank you for leaving us those, we appreciate it. And a lot of these statues are in the middle of these cities, and they depict these people that were quite frankly racist. They raped and pillaged the African continent, and there's a big controversy about wanting to pull down these statues. We thought about it and we're like, okay, what if we provide more context around the statue and tell you who this person is? So you could lift up your mobile phone and point it at the statue, and the statue comes to life and starts telling you a story. And the statue is like, I am an amazing general. And then the horse corrects the statue and is like, no, you're a racist. And they have this little debate between the statue and the general. So you can do like radically different storytelling. We created another really cool experience. I'm really passionate about nature. We created this experience where you point your phone at the sky and you see this battle between Mother Nature and greed. And greed wins. And then this like really drunk koala comes out of the forest. I'm based in Australia. And the koala's like, yo, we need to go and save Mother Nature. And you basically navigate through the park with Albert the koala. And you scan the trees, they come to life, they tell you stories, and you learn more about natural ecosystems. Really, really exciting. Again, in the climate change space, we were able to create AR lenses that basically show you the impact of climate change, where you can open up your camera. I'll just open it up for you. And I can put a world in our space and tell you a story.
I met a woman forced into sex work, and guess what sparked it? Climate change. She was from a West African...
And what's really exciting about this is you can democratize motion graphics, where anyone, anywhere in the world can use that to tell a story in their community. So when you see like the Weather Channel, and they have those like big, dramatic, there's a tornado sweeping through this part of the US, we can take those kinds of effects and democratize them to millions of people around the world so that they can tell climate change stories in their communities using their mobile devices. And then I'll bring you guys in on a little secret. My wife is very pregnant at the moment, expecting, thank you, firstborn. And we created an augmented reality lens where I can point it at her, and at any week, over the course of the various weeks, we can see the development of the fetal development. And it also tells me other stuff like what we should and shouldn't be eating and those kinds of things. These are all different ways of thinking about consumption of content, right? Not just capturing, but consuming content when we start to overlay it onto the world. So it's these two things that we need to think about when we think about the future of storytelling in this immersive augmented reality space. One is capture and creation. How do we incentivize the creation of amazing content with brands and not brands, with individuals? And the other side is consumption. When we start to overlay stories onto the world, what does those consumption patterns look like? When this all comes together, we've been able to create a really interesting media organization. It's called Scene. Scene because stories are seen overlaid onto the world and communities feel seen and heard. And using augmented reality, we're able to publish 1,000 videos a year.
We were doing nothing wrong.
I've never seen so many dead bodies.
I'm a journalist. Don't touch me.
My story might seem sad, but
maybe it will save someone else's life.
Keep fighting, because people want you here. It's not your fault.
This is me being an African woman.
I just want to be a part of the next generation that's going to make a change.
I want to be a journalist.
What should you never say to an assault survivor? Does wearing a uniform make you a terrorist?
Dude, have you seen this?
Honestly, it's game changing.
It says here your statement, it should say racist.
Don't put plastic in water.
My sense of expression is validated.
I am seen. I feel seen.
We are seen.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
We are forever hiring. We're looking for the best people in the world to work with. We're growing. This is such an interesting opportunity no matter what sector you work in, whether you work in health or education or finance. Every single one of us needs to be thinking about storytelling and content creation, both in terms of capture and consumption. Thank you very much. I've got 2 minutes for questions. Thank you. Any questions? No? Everyone feeling good? All right. Well, I'll be here today and tomorrow if you need me. Thank you so much.